So a lot of the questions that I've been receiving is, can I put money into a Roth IRA? And the answer to that question is if you have an income source from anywhere, you can put it in a Roth IRA. Okay.
All right.
If you are a non-working spouse, you can still do it as long as your spouse is declaring some form of income that would be equal to the amount of money you can put in. So let's just say your spouse is self-employed, or he has a job and he's maxing out his 401k and so forth, and he has enough expenses to write off everything. He's not showing any income really. Then you can't put it in. But if you're a non-working spouse, you could put it in. And if you're a working spouse, like this new client of mine, you can set up a Roth. And why do you want to do that? Because you can put money into an investment and not pay any taxes on it, and then pull it out without paying taxes. And see, you're going to start, people that have the money to retire, you're going to start feeling that when you have your IRAs and stuff. Because one of the things that we spoke about with a client, well, I'll tell you, I had a client review yesterday, very old, long client of mine, referred by some of the boys that I was partners with in the property and casualty agency. And we'll talk
Back
about
in the
that
day,
later today. Yeah.
Yes.
And she's selling her business, and it's a wholesale business. And I'm not going to say what it is or who it is, because I have to protect their identity, because
Okay.
you're not allowed to talk about people and their money on the radio, obviously, or
Specifically,
ever. So this business they're selling, and they're going to get $4 million or $5 million. And so now we don't have a problem creating the income. We have a problem with taxes. So one of the things that I said to them is, they said, we don't want to use okay, so this is something that everybody should, if you're always thinking about converting your Roth IRA, or your IRA to a backdoor Roth, this is something you should listen to.
All right.
One of the things that they said to me was, we don't want to use our IRA money. We want to potentially defer that as long as we can, because we're worried about taxes. We're going to pay a boatload of taxes on the sale of the business, and we don't want to pay any taxes on, as long as we can from the IRA. And so one of the things that I said is, this is a perfect time for us to really talk about doing a backdoor conversion, because they're at the perfect age to do it.
Okay.
Because they're selling their business and they have 5 years before they're 73, or no, 7 years before they're 73. So we have the 5-year period where they can start converting it, and their income's going to be less because they're retiring. So that is the perfect time to do the conversion. And what happens in sequence is, you set up another account called a Roth IRA, and what you do every year is you move money from one account to the other account, and then you withhold for the taxes, so you don't have to write a check to the IRS at the end of the year, and it moves the lower amount into the Roth. But what will happen is, now that Roth, if you don't touch it for 5 years, you can pull it out without paying any taxes on it. So that is a perfect situation.
All right.
Your income goes down, you have more than 5 years before you need the money, and you don't want to use it in retirement. Now, a lot of people don't have that option, so you're going to have to use the money. You can't do a Roth conversion at that time when you retire, because you need to use the money. Now, the other thing on the other flip side of this is that, if you look at income tax relatively today as they were in the past, income taxes are a lot lower today than they were in the past, including when I started working in this business in 1989.
Truly?
Income taxes were as high as 40% or 45%.
Gosh.
The highest tax bracket's 37, and they raised that marital a tax bracket to a very high amount, like over, I think, $700,000. So if you make under that amount, you're in a lower tax bracket if you're married. So I mean, we can look at the tax brackets and everything, but the most important thing that you need to understand, folks, is when you retire, you've got to be able to have an idea of some things that you want to do or you don't want to do. And if it's travel, then you better put a lot more money aside. Okay. If you're like me and you don't have a lot of things that you really need to do other than travel, then you're going to be, you look at your expenses, you do like one of the things that I did for somebody yesterday that's a listener. Now they're not a listestener. They were referred to me from another source. One of the things that
they're
she needed.
They're a listener now, though.
Yeah. They wanted a cash flow. People like when I give them these cash flow reports, or this form that I have that lists every single expense that you can have, so you can just do it by hand and say, okay, these are my expenses. Some of the most simple things you could do, folks, that big money managers and these big shots that don't tell you is to just look at your situation very, very, very easy in something, a form that easy that you can fill out and fill out what your expenses are, do it with your spouse, and come up with a plan. And then what we can do is we can say, okay, this is how we're going to exercise this plan, and these are the fears that you need to have, and this is how we're going to overcome those fears. We're going to create an income plan. We're going to tell you how this works. I'm going to teach you about Social Security. Like, I had another meeting with my client yesterday that was my neighbor.
Wait.
And I'm going to talk about that when we come back from the break, because for the next 5 callers, if you like what you're hearing and you want to meet somebody that really cares, that manages lots of money and is a really good financial planner, I know this guy's name is Bruce. And for the next 5 callers, here's what he's going to do. He's going to look at your statements from your 401ks. He's going to tell you what he thinks you should fund into your 401k. He's going to look at these taxes and see if you're a good candidate for a backdoor Roth IRA. He's going to talk about Roth IRAs with you and what the benefits are. He's going to teach you how to put money into a Roth IRA if you haven't already, okay? And come up with a plan so that we don't have to worry about sitting on the couch watching TV all day. We have other things that we're going to do because we're going to discuss these things, because some planning is not all just about money. It's about other things too. And that's what the show is about today. So for the next 5 callers, please call us, please meet with us, and believe me, you will be happy even if we have a conversation on the phone. So Jackie, tell them how to reach us.
Sure.
Premier Southwest Planning Group, LLC is a registered investment advisor. The content of this advertisement is intended for informational purposes only and is not intended to be investment advice. The views expressed in this program are subject to change based on market and other conditions.